Hello again, welcome back to my channel. My name is Liv, I am an independent author, and my current work in progress is a sorority romance with an estimated release date of fall 2026. And I am not wearing a sorority shirt for this video for two reasons. One, because I'm going to my friend's birthday party right after this, and I am already dressed for that. And secondly, I'm not really talking exclusively about Violet's novel or even primarily about Violet's novel in this video. So I was like, I didn't want to go through the effort of changing shirts just for this video. So you see a little different side of me today. As I said in a previous video, I don't know if I actually uploaded that clip or not, but I contain multitudes. I am also continuously on the quest to find the best lighting in my apartment because it is very clearly not the dining room table, as I realized when I was editing back that last video. The one where I talked about naming characters and stuff. Oh boy, that was, I don't even know. So right now we're by my front door. I'm kind of not planning on sticking with this long term because I don't know how soundproof that door is. And I just don't want my neighbors to have to listen to me talk about my writing for hours. Not hours, I don't film hours worth of content at a time. Like, I'm not that bad. But I want to be respectful of my neighbors and the people using the hallway, and yeah. So what I wanted to talk about in this video is context, basically, and how your work should be able to stand on its own, and you shouldn't need videos like this as like necessary context for people to enjoy your work, because that is a trap that I don't know if I want to call it a trap. That is something that I fell into years ago, where I was like, and I don't know how much into detail I want to get about this, because I have tried very hard to scrub my old work from existence. There are some things I can't scrub from existence, like neopets.com, but you know, just anything that I put out before, like just like anything that I put on the internet before Saving Summer, or before that was my focus project even. So like my old videos that I made in 2021 talking about that novel, fine. But like anything I put on the internet before that, I'm just like trying to scrub the existence of any of that writing, just anything. Because it was to the point where like I couldn't stand the thought of it being perceived without context. Like obviously I didn't want it to be perceived at all, but I was like, if it must be on the internet, if it must still be out there, it needs to be perceived within its context. And like this doesn't even just apply to writing, like it could apply to my old Neopets publications from 2007, which no, you cannot have my username for that because it is not the username I use now. So you can't have that. Like Sims 2 series that I tried to make back in the day that thankfully I never even put on YouTube. There were some that I put on YouTube that have been taken down, but there were some that I like just didn't even upload because I was like, these can't exist without context. And like I did in 2020, not even 2020, in like 2018, yeah, 2018, I did a series about reading my old writing on this channel that I took down because I'm like so much of what I put out, I felt like needed context for me to be comfortable with it being perceived. And the work that you put out, you should be able to speak for itself, should be able to stand on its own. You shouldn't feel the need to put out additional context for people to understand it, to enjoy it. And that is something that I fall into because I do enjoy making these like kind of behind the scenes style videos where I talk about my work in more detail. I make like the fun facts about Saving Summer and all that. But I struggle to sometimes find the line between like things that I need people to know before I want them to perceive my work, and things that that are just like bonus fun things you can know. Because that's the videos that like this that I put out should just be bonus fun things you should know. The author's note I put in the back of my books should just be bonus things that I'm telling you, not like things that you need to understand the context of the book. And for the most part, I felt very comfortable with Saving Summer standing on its own with no context. I did prefer if people read the author's note, just because I wanted to make it very clear that, like, at the time, and to this day still, because Violet's novel is still a work in progress, like, that is the only work that I've put out with an autistic character who is not actually diagnosed within the context of the novel, but it's just very heavily implied. And if you haven't read the book, if you don't plan on reading the book, I am going to give a spoiler. She dies. So you know, I wanted to put in that author's note the context that, like, I did plan on writing an autistic character with a happier story and a happier ending, which will be Violet. So, and while, like, I don't think it's necessary that people read the author's note to understand Saving Summer, to enjoy it in its full context, I do prefer that people do read it, just because, you know, until I have something else out there, I'm like, that is my only representation, and I just need it to be clear that I'm not planning on that being my only representation. And even that is like, why can't I just let that stand on its own without that author's note, like, until I put something else out? And it's something that I fall into quite often, and I think it comes from just the fact that my whole life, I over-explain myself as kind of a trauma response. And I saw a post, I forget where I saw it, but somebody put it into words, and it was like, you over-explain because you have always felt like you are more palatable with context. And I'm like, oh, if that ain't me. Like, I just, from a very young age, I was like, yeah, I am a lot. But I feel like if people had the right context, if the people really understood why I am the way that I am, why I do certain things, why I say certain things, why I made certain decisions, like, I would be so much more palatable. Like, they would like me so much better. Like, if, I don't know, like, when I was, this is something that I cannot talk too much about, just because, like, I've been in therapy about it for so long. I don't want to, like, re-dig things up, but, like, the friendship breakup I went through when I was 18, like, I spent so many months, if not years, convinced that, like, if everybody involved in that knew exactly, like, what was going on my end, like, why I made those decisions that led to that friendship breakup, like, they would understand, and, you know, they would forgive me. And then, like, years later, when I finally went to therapy, being like, oh, but that's not how that works. Like, and so, like, it has been consistently in my life a trauma response that I have felt that if people understood, like, if people had further explanations and context behind me, then I would be better perceived, I would be more palatable to people, I would have less trouble fitting in, I would just be liked better. And you know, that's not really how the world works. And so, like, if I'm going to put out a novel, it needs to be able to stand on its own. I need to not have to direct people to, like, 30 in-depth blog posts of me dissecting every single chapter of that book to explain what everything in that chapter actually meant, and the hidden inspirations and meanings, and why I made this decision. And you can't fully understand and get this decision unless you read the context for why I made it. You know, or like videos like this, like, you should be able to, when I put out Violet's novel, you should be able to just, like, go to the store, ideally, or Amazon.com, unfortunately, and buy it and read it, and not need to go watch every video I've ever made talking about it to understand. And I feel like that's just something that I need to work on. And so making these videos is fun, and they are something that I want to make sure I'm having fun with, and not, like, giving necessary context that you need to read the book. Yes, it would be great if people watch the video to understand, like, the context of me making up fake Greek organizations for the story, and, like, what went into me making a fake town instead of making it based in University of Delaware. But you should be able to understand the book without knowing those things. You should be able to read the story, enjoy the story, understand it without knowing the full context of those things. Like if you read that book and don't fully gather, I mean, like if you read that book and you don't fully gather in reading that book that I made up fake Greek organizations and those are not real sororities, then I've already done something wrong. So, you know, like I don't, yeah. Yeah, so that's a balance that I still struggle to find, and something that I want to make sure I'm working on. And I think that's why I've started to go into more behind the scenes content as I'm still making edits to the book. Because then if I say something in a video that I'm like, I need to make 100% sure that the reader understands this, if they're going to read the book, then I have time to go back and put that in the book and not just hope to God that they watch a random video in which I happen to say something that's important. But I really started thinking about this, I think it was like a year, maybe 2 years ago, when I saw a post, and it was like just in my recommended feed or something. It wasn't like an artist that I listened to, but it was this artist that was like, I put out a new CD, and in this post I go into detail about the meaning behind each of the songs. If you're going to listen to the album, I need you to read these paragraphs that I wrote about each of the songs, so that you fully understand them. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, if I'm listening to music, I don't want to read, I mean, depending on how invested I am in the artist. Like if Taylor Swift puts out like a 5,000 page novel explaining the meaning behind every single word that she's ever chosen for every single one of her songs, you bet I will be reading that. But like if my favorite band of all time, which is One True Thing, which has not been a band since like I want to say 2006, which was years before I even discovered them, if they ever put out a book explaining anything about their songs, I will be reading it cover to cover multiple times. Okay, like there are bands, there are artists that I care about enough to read that kind of material. But if I'm just finding a new artist to listen to, I don't want to have to hope to God that I stumble upon their Instagram and find the 5 paragraphs they wrote about their songs in order for me to understand them. So that was like kind of like not really a wake-up call, because I was already at the point where I was like, yeah, I can't be putting things out there that need more context. But it was just kind of like a reminder to me that's like, yeah, people want to read a book. They're not like, I don't think at this point in my writing career, even my friends, I don't think even my best friends are invested enough in me as an author to want to like go watch hours worth of videos or read hundreds of pages worth of blog posts where I explain the choices that I made in putting my books together. I don't think I will ever get to a level in my writing career where people are like, I need to know exactly why Liv made these decisions. I need to know every single thought process that went into every single word on this page. I don't think I'm ever going to get to that level. There are authors that I would be so inclined to read such content about. Like if Lemony Snicket, Daniel Handler, ever puts out like, this is like page for page how I made every decision in writing a series of unfortunate events, oh, I will be eating that up. You bet I will be eating that up, and I will be reading it multiple times. But I don't think I'm ever going to be on the same level as Daniel Handler, so that's just, you know. And even if I was, like, I still don't think everybody who reads my content is gonna want to read something that explains all the context in order to enjoy the book. And that's, you know, even using Lemony Snicket, Daniel Handler as an example, he has gotten to the success that he has because his books stand so well on their own. I could read The Bad Beginning not knowing anything else that happens later in the series and be like, okay, this is a well-written book. You know, like there wasn't any point really, except for like the whole like plot with the sugar bowl, where like in VFD where like you want more details about that and you're gonna get them as you keep reading, but there wasn't anything that I was like, I'm gonna need something to come along in a later book and justify this choice. And so that is something that I am working on, especially because it's so hard for me to write standalone novels. Don't ask me how Saving Summer happened. Don't ask me how I managed to do that in one standalone novel. Like, I don't know what I would do for a sequel, but I've never had any sort of desire to write a sequel or a prequel or any other content in that universe, in that series, in that storyline. The most I have felt like writing is an alternate ending that is happier, but I'm like, even that, like, I'm not actually gonna do that because that would destroy the context of the story that is able to stand on its own. But that's why I like fall into writing series so much, because I want to develop everybody more. I want to develop the storylines more. I want to know more. I become so like attached to my characters that I just want to write more. I don't want their stories to end. Like, and that's gonna get like, cause like University Story, Violet and all of them, I've only been working with those characters since 2019. And even then I like took time off of that to like focus on Saving Summer exclusively for a chunk of time. I know I said like I can never really focus on novels exclusively. Like I'm always like working on something on the side, but like when I was like in the like final stages of editing, formatting, proofreading, checking the proof copies, all of that with Saving Summer, like I was not working on anything else because I just did not have time. And so, but so like these University Story characters, I've only been working with for a handful of years. And so like, I feel like when it's time to let them go, it'll be a lot easier than when I eventually move on to the project that I have been like reshaping, rewriting, redrafting, all like just like going back and forth, remaking and all of those things. How many more synonyms for rewriting can I say? When it comes to those projects, when I eventually get those to the forefront, those projects that I've been working on rewriting and all that, I don't need to say all those words again, for over a decade now, like it's going to be a lot harder for me to let go of those characters when it comes time to end their storylines. Because those projects that I keep referencing, and because like those future projects that I keep referencing, they do have planned ends. Okay, I don't plan them to go on forever. I'm probably gonna cut, like, I just talked for like 5 straight minutes about a project that is not going to see the light of day for like 5 years probably, at least. So I'm just gonna cut all of that and just say that you know, I have a hard time ending series. Like I always want to write more. And I have multiple, and plans to write standalone novels that then turned into ideas for a series or a sequel, even just one sequel, or like, how can I connect the characters in this other project to the characters in this project? Because actually, I think it would be really cute to do that. That is something I'll talk about in a future video, is how like different projects of mine are connected to each other in not so obvious ways. Some of them will be more obvious ways, but some of them will be, that's a video I have planned later down the line to talk about how like, in theory, all of my books take place in the same universe, or the same one of 2 universes. Could technically be the same universe, except for the fact that some of, well, this is all stuff that I can get into in that video. Don't have to talk about in this one. And I just wanted to share that, like, you know, I am having fun doing this, and I'm having fun doing it as bonus content instead of necessary context. And I feel like I personally have come a long way in the past decade of being able to like let my work speak for itself and not worry about people getting the proper context in order to enjoy what I've put out there, or in order to truly understand it, or for me to feel like they truly understand it, I guess you could say. But my camera's running out of time, and I am not wearing a watch, so I don't know why I did that, but I do have to get going to my friend's birthday party kind of soon, so I am going to leave it here. I've got about math, I want to say 6 weeks until I get the line edits back for Violet's novel, and start going through those. I plan to upload more than once within those 6 weeks, and just keep talking about stuff. I have some videos planned for after I go through those line edits, just like things I want to talk about that I want to make sure there's nothing significant I'm going to change. And there's stuff that I'm not going to talk about until I have like the physical proof copy in my hands. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time in a video. Bye.